Hello, we're here with Horst Stipp, EVP Research and Innovation at the ARF. How are you doing?
I'm fine, Keith. Looking forward to the interview.
So first question, why is attention important? Obviously, the ARF just had a big event around attention with a lot of dialogue. What about this moment in time makes it kind of the key topic in advertising?
Yeah, I would say there are a couple of reasons. I think one of the drivers is there are a number of new measures and they are scalable. So that's a very interesting development. And they address really, really important issues, namely, attention to advertising, how to increase attention to advertising. And then I think the other reason why there's a lot of interest is that there are questions around the quality of the measurement and also exactly how to use it. What's the best way to use these measures? And the ARF event that addressed this topic really focused on that and highlighted some of the arguments and some of the questions around that. So, for example, there was this question, should attention become a currency, or at least a supplemental currency, or should we focus more on using attention measurement to improve creative?
What about this moment in time? There was talk about going from the lab to real applications. Does it feel like there's a sufficient or a substantive amount of attention measurement that's happening with campaigns, or are we still more so in the research part of the equation?
Yeah, again, that's an excellent question. I think there are a couple of things going on again. One, of course, is the fact that practically every campaign now is multimedia and on different platforms, and platforms work differently. So there's a strong desire to get more information to really understand how they work. The assumption, which I think the research confirms, is that attention levels are different on different platforms, that there's much different kinds of attention for different platforms. And so there's a desire to know more about that. And I think the research community has picked up on that and developed a number of methodologies. When I started at the ARF just 10 years ago, the big topic was neuro. And neuro kind of did in the lab some of the things that the attention measurement is doing right now. Those measures, of course, are quite expensive and not particularly scalable. And so the emergence now of more scalable methods, I think, is a real big advantage. Now, let me be candid about my biases. So I'm a real research nerd. I've been working in research for all my life. And one of the reasons I joined the ARF after spending my career at NBC in research was that the ARF is really committed to quality issues. And so that's something that really resonates with me. So I've been taking a close look at that particular issue. But there is this really interesting balance. If it turns out that the best method to find out if an ad resonates is so expensive and so impractical that you can't really use it in practice, you really have to make a compromise. You have to find a method that is practical, affordable, and still works well. So, for example, in the neuro area, there's general agreement that fMRI is the most valid, the most, the best methodology available, but it would cost like tens of thousands for every single commercial, and there are not enough fMRIs out there in order to do this. So the development of scalable methods, really is a good thing. And, companies have, as several companies are in the field and have developed a variety of different methods, all striving to optimize their product. However, as you know from attending the ARF event on attention, the ARF has decided that based on the response they got from that we've gotten from our members, that there's great interest in the ARF taking a closer look and to examine exactly how good are these measures, what are their pros, what are their cons, what might be missing, how can they be improved. So one question, for example, you can raise is that most attention measurement does not take audio into consideration. We know from research that audio does play a role in video commercials. So that's one issue. And the other one is, certain shortcuts that you do when you do things with AI and when you do things in a more scalable way. For example, some companies just measure eyes-on attention. Well, of course, what we really know is if this eyes-on actually translate into emotional and cognitive response, whether when you watch, you're actually processing the information or you're being emotionally affected, and that creates a positive effect for the advertiser. So you really want to know more about engagement. Well, some companies like yours do that with, I understand, facial recognition. Facial recognition works really well for humor and for disgust. However, very often people do not show much, if any, facial response when they watch advertising or anything else for that matter, right? There's a lot going on inside of their heads, but it doesn't necessarily translate into a change in their facial expression. So there are a number of questions. I am personally very hopeful and feel very positive that this kind of examination will further increase the level of quality, will increase the level of attention to these measures, and be really, really good for the industry. Because if I may add one thing, as I said at the very beginning, the promise of this measure to move forward and be a better tool is really quite important, because it really gets to the heart of what advertisers want to find out. And that is, does my ad capture attention, emotion? Is there going to be a positive response to my ad? Because as the ARF has shown by reviewing research from 50 years, there is nothing more important than good creative for advertising success. And I remember Max Kalov at the attention event making that point, and I totally agree with him. There is nothing more important. You can have the best media plan, but if your ad is crap, nothing's going to happen. Now, the reverse is true too. If you have a really, really great ad, but you don't reach your target group, that's no good either. But right. What happens much more often, and Bill Harvey made this really, really good point, a lot of advertisers are too focused on getting the stuff cheap. And the cheapest campaign is very, very rarely the best campaign. So let's put more emphasis on creative. Let's put more emphasis on finding out, identifying the good creative and how to improve creative.
For those watching who have heard about attention, maybe, have read some material or what's the best advice for, starting to focus more on attention, measurement and metrics in advertising?
Well, I take it as an invitation to make a shameless plug for the ARF. We have looked at this issue for quite some time. Like I said, when I started there, it was in connection with Neuro. And so I've been, quite fascinated by the topic. And I, as I mentioned at the beginning, how do we use this measurement? And we focused very much in this discussion today on using it to improve creative. But there's the other use, of course, too, which is to identify a media environment that delivers the best impact for a given commercial. And that is the other use of this measurement, and that is the one that is often discussed in the connection with currency. So I would say that there is a lot of information out there. The ARF has collected it. ARF members have access to all this information. At the same time, to be fair, now my plug is over. You know, you can Google attention measurement, and Google is really quite good at delivering a number of good information. One topic on that, which I want to highlight, is my good friend Dwayne Moran at Media Science, who is like an excellent researcher, and he has an outfit that does kind of research. He has suggested that we should focus more on inattention rather than attention. Why does he say that? And I think I'm very sympathetic to his point of view here. Is the concept attention is a little bit vague. What exactly do we mean by that? Some people would say, well, it means that somebody looks at it. No, it's more than that. Attention means you're like really focused on it, and you know, it registers. As I said earlier, there is engagement there and so on. And so what he is saying is, we know with certainty that if there is no attention, there is no effect. So there is this little gray area. However, the Attention Council, and that's another term to Google to get more information. The Attention Council is a group of researchers, and they have collected some really, really good data. And they have focused on the following. They've said, okay, with all the discussion about the quality of the measurement and the different measurement, the bottom line is, do our measures predict better purchase intent, better brand opinion, positive reaction to ads? And they have collected a lot of research that does show it does indeed do that, that there is a positive correlation between most of these measures that are being offered in the marketplace and outcomes for the ad. And of course, that is the bottom line, and that is what it's all about.